Alex was never close to his grandfather, Victor. The old man always seemed to him a strange recluse who lived in a huge Victorian house on a hill outside the city. So when Alex received the news of his grandfather's death and unexpectedly inherited the same house, he didn't know what to think. For the first time in years, Alex crossed the threshold of the old mansion. The inside smelled of dust and old books, antique furniture, clocks, and amazing artifacts that his grandfather had collected throughout his life were everywhere. Wandering around the rooms, Alex felt a strange uneasiness. It seemed to him that the portraits on the walls were watching him, and whispers were coming from dark corners. On the third day of his stay in the house, Alex found his grandfather's old diary. From it, he learned that Victor had spent his entire life fighting something he called the Shadow, a dark entity that lived in the house. His grandfather wrote that he was the only one who could contain the shadow, preventing it from breaking out into the world. That same night, Alex woke up to a rumbling noise. He saw the furniture moving by itself, books flying around the room, and a huge dark spot on the wall that seemed to be alive. Alex wanted to run away, but he remembered the words from the diary. Only the blood of our family can control the shadow. If we leave the house, it will break free and bring chaos to the world. Realizing his responsibility, Alex gathered all his courage. He remembered the spell he had found in the diary and began to recite it. The shadow howled, trying to reach him, but Alex did not give up. When the first rays of sunlight penetrated the windows, the shadow retreated. Alex fell to the floor exhausted, realizing that this was only the first of many battles. From that day on, Alex's life changed forever. He became the keeper of the family secret, the protector of the world from the darkness that hides in the old house on the hill. Although it was not an easy task, Alex finally understood his grandfather and felt proud of his family. At night, standing by the window and looking at the city below, Alex whispered, "Sleep well, Grandpa. I will continue your work. The shadow will not pass." Mark Daniels has always dreamed of owning a house in the country. When he came across an ad for an old mansion for sale for a song, he didn't hesitate for a second. The realtor warned him about the house's complicated history, but Mark just shrugged it off. The first days in their new home were idyllic. Mark enjoyed the silence, fresh air, and beautiful scenery. But soon strange things began to happen. At night, Mark would hear footsteps in the attic. In the morning, he would find open wardrobes and drawers. And one day he woke up to the smell of bitter almonds, which seemed to come from nowhere. The neighbors were reluctant to tell Mark the history of the house. Half a century ago, the famous chemist Edward Blake lived here with his young wife Eleanor. One day, Eleanor was found dead. The official version was a heart attack, but rumors of cyanide poisoning spread through the city. Edward was suspected, but there was no evidence. He continued to live in the house, becoming a recluse. A year later, he was also found dead, with a glass of half-drunk wine next to him. After this conversation, Mark began to see a ghost, a pale woman in an old dress. She appeared in different rooms, always with an expression of deep sadness on her face. Mark decided to solve the mystery. He began to explore the house and found a secret room in the basement. There were old chemical instruments in Edward's diary. From the diary, Mark learned the shocking truth. Eleanor was cheating on her husband with his best friend. Upon learning of this, Edward made a special poison that was odorless and tasteless. He put it in Eleanor's wine and then, unable to live with the guilt, drank the poison himself a year later. That same night, Mark woke up to the touch of a cold hand. He saw the ghost of Eleanor holding out a glass of wine to him. Behind her stood a gloomy man, the ghost of Edward. Mark realized that the ghosts were doomed to repeat their tragedy forever, seeking understanding and forgiveness. He decided to help them find peace. Mark organized the reburial of Edward and Eleanor together as they had wanted in life. He also published the true story, clearing Eleanor's name of suspicion of adultery. After that, the ghosts never appeared again. But sometimes on quiet evenings, Mark would smell a slight odor of bitter almonds and hear distant laughter, as if two lovers had finally found their happiness on the other side. Mark stayed in the house, feeling a strange connection to its history. He often thought about the fragility of human relationships and how easily the poison of jealousy and distrust can destroy the strongest love. Emily and Ashley Parker were identical twins, indistinguishable. They lived in the small town of Oakville, Oregon, and were inseparable until their 13th birthday. On that fateful day, the girls decided to go for a bike ride near Blue Pine Lake. Emily looked away for a moment, and when she turned her head, Ashley was gone. The search lasted for several days, but Ashley's body was never found. Police assumed she had fallen into the lake and drowned. A year passed. Emily tried to move on with her life, but her longing for her sister never let go. Her parents, John and Sarah, were too absorbed in their own grief to notice how their daughter was slowly sinking into depression. Everything changed the night before the twins' 14th birthday. Emily woke up in the middle of the night feeling a strange pull. She got out of bed and walked to the bathroom as if guided by an invisible force. When Emily turned on the light and looked in the mirror, she saw Ashley, not her reflection. Her sister looked exactly the same as a year ago, but her eyes were cold and empty. "Happy birthday, sis," Ashley said with a wry smile. Emily closed her eyes, thinking it was a dream. But when she opened them again, Ashley was still there. "You have no idea how lonely it is to be on the other side," Ashley continued. "I missed you so much, my mom and dad. I missed life." From that day on, Ashley began to appear in every reflection. At first, Emily was excited to be able to communicate with her sister again. She told Ashley about school, about her friends, about everything that had happened this year. But gradually, Emily noticed a change in her sister's behavior. Ashley became more and more demanding and angry. She blamed Emily for her death, saying that if Emily had been more attentive, it wouldn't have happened. "You should have been in my place," Ashley often repeated. "It's not fair that you're living and I'm stuck here." Emily tried to avoid mirrors, but Ashley found ways to appear everywhere, in windows, on the phone screen, even in other people's eyes. One night, Emily woke up and saw Ashley standing by her bedside. The ghost of her sister was translucent, but quite tangible. "Come with me, Emily," Ashley whispered. "Let's go swimming in the lake together, forever." Emily realized that Ashley wanted to drag her into Blue Pine Lake. She screamed, waking her parents. When John and Sarah ran into the room, Ashley was gone, but Emily saw her reflection in the window, angry, with eyes full of hatred. Emily told her parents about Ashley. At first they didn't believe her, thinking it was a manifestation of grief. But when Sarah saw Ashley herself in the bathroom mirror, there was no doubt. The Parkers turned to a local psychic, Miss Rosalinda. She explained that Ashley's spirit was stuck between worlds because of her sudden death and unresolved issues. "She envies the living and wants to return," said Miss Rosalinda. "But the only way for her to do that is to take the place of someone alive, and Emily is her easiest target." Ms. Rosalinda performed a ritual to protect the Parker home and Emily from Ashley's influence. She also taught Emily how to strengthen her mind against her sister's attacks. But Ashley didn't give up. She continued to appear to Emily in her dreams, whispering, tempting her to join her. Emily fought back. She started seeing a psychologist to deal with the trauma and guilt. She also found solace in art, drawing her emotions and fears. Months passed. Ashley's visits became less and less frequent, but Emily knew that her sister was still there, waiting for a moment of weakness. On their 15th birthday, Emily decided to return to Blue Pine Lake. She was standing on the shore looking out over the water when she saw Ashley's reflection next to her. "You can still join me," Ashley said. "We could be together forever." Emily shook her head. "I love you, Ashley. I always will. But my place is here, among the living, and your place is to move on. Please let go of your anger and find peace." For a moment, something like understanding flashed in Ashley's eyes. Then her image trembled and slowly dissolved into the water of the lake. Emily didn't know if it was the end or just a break in their confrontation. But she felt that something had changed. She returned home knowing that whatever the future held, she was ready to face it.